Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Donald Trump freezing $2 billion in Harvard funding after they doubled down on DEI, which for Harvard, they probably won't even care because it's $2 billion, but they've got quite a pretty penny in the bank, or more accurately, investments. Now, this comes with thanks to Libs at TikTok. And she says, quote, Donald Trump freezes $2 billion in funding to Harvard after they doubled down on DEI and refused to address anti-Semitism on campuses. As of the end of the fiscal year 2024, Harvard University's endowment was valued at $53.2 billion. Why are we still funding them anyway? That's a damn good question. There's not a single reason we should be. And this should have gone more viral, I thought. It's got about 572,000 views as well as 16,000 likes. And there's a screenshot from BBC, an article by Brandon Darien, and it says Trump freezes $2 billion in Harvard funding after university rejects demands. And Harvard University says, quote, it's from their X account, and it got 3.9 million views. Now they say, quote, the university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Their constitutional right to discriminate against people? Is that what they're saying? Again, this is literally colleges. They got busted a couple years ago for being anti-Asian in terms of discrimination with their admissions. Funny how that story is quickly swept under the rug. But again, Harvard specifically has been busted multiple times for discriminating against applicants who are trying to get into school. Now, again, I'll restart this quote from the beginning. They say, quote, the university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Neither Harvard nor any private constitution can allow us to be taken over by the federal government. Getting 3.9 million likes from their tweet. If you're a private business, I think you do whatever the hell you want. If you're receiving money from the government as a public university to the tune of $2 billion, you kind of have an incentive to be doing to what they would argue. You know, you're supposed to be following the law. You're supposed to be not discriminating against people, but Harvard wants it so badly. They'd rather miss out on $2 billion than just not discriminate against people, which kind of shows you what Harvard and that mentality is all about. And going to the comments, one of the first ones comes from Liz TikTok saying, quote, Harvard may also lose their tax exemption status. And Trump said, quote, perhaps Harvard should lose its tax exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax exempt status is totally contingent in acting in the public interest, unquote. A damn good point. And they got 1.2 thousand likes. Now, Gunther Eagleman says, quote, why are taxpayers funding private colleges to begin with? Getting 7.8 thousand likes. Great question. We shouldn't. We look at all the wasted spending we have in the United States. That's insane. Now, Matt Van Swol also says, just to put this into perspective, we give Harvard 4 times more money than the entire Small Business Administration, the SBA. Read that again, getting 10,000 likes. Catturd simply says, good, getting 99 likes. The Cat Media TM says, quote, anti-Semitism will only continue to spike at places like Harvard because they promote it. And let's see. What's in here? Looks like a graduation speech. Well, they have a cap and gown, so I assume. So these are mentally vacuous students waving the Palestinian flag, which they're graduating from Harvard. One would think of all the flags, you would be probably maybe waving the Harvard flag or the United States of America flag. But no, of course, they're waving the flag of another country. Why are they allowed to be here again? I mean, remember when people would assimilate in the United States? My family came here from Cuba. We don't own a damn Cuban flag because it stands for the totalitarian Castro family. Again, the people of Cuba are great people, but the government's so evil and corrupt. Why would we ever represent that? We don't. It's ridiculous. Looks like someone is twerking or having a seizure right there. I can't tell the difference. Either the cap and gown right there, the bottom left corner. Oh, Elon, what's up with this? It's taking more than a second to load, which in modern times is an eternity on them internets. Granted, the age-old question is IT, or rather the age-old accusation is, it's the network. Fun fact, after a quick test, you can assure the team and the customers or the end users it is in fact not a network issue. And I always check I have redundancies, but I also check my network before I do any episodes. Spoiler, yeah, the bottleneck in the equation is not on my end when you have these type of issues with videos not playing on Max. Let's see if it goes through this time. a week conquered university. All the Palestinian flags, not a single American flag, not a single Harvard flag even. I'm surprised that only got 22 likes, but I thought it was interesting. Paul Zazupa says, quote, not a single tax dollar should be going to any anti-Semitic college or university. Harvard is no exception, getting 62 likes. Christopher Johnson says, President Trump should shut down that money coming from outside the country to Harvard. That is why they're pushing back, getting 107 likes. That's another big contributing factor, I think. A lot of people don't realize how much China donates to universities across the U.S., not just Harvard. And a lot of people wonder, why are they doing this? I can't think. Brainwashing. The undercurrent says, quote, imagine sitting on a $53 billion and still begging taxpayers for lunch money so you can teach kids to hate the country that funded it. I should get more likes. Got 71 likes. I threw it a like too. Let's see. Any contrarian statements? Homeschool Queen Bee says, good. It says Harvard class of 2025. It's a bunch of students with kitchen towels on their head and face, which there is probably a technical term. I don't necessarily mean to be pejorative in that regard. Because I know the hijab is an actual cloth one, but these are like the kitchen towel fabrics, which has to be like one of the top 10. That is like the top 10 export of Pakistan. I'm only partially kidding. I actually did an analysis once where I was covering Pakistan in the show. And I was like, what are the top 10 exports? Do we do business with them? It is in fact fabrics. That is a real thing. On ADHD fact of the day, Olivia Krinzinski says, quote, not a single dollar should go to the school, getting 31 likes. Again, they have $53 billion endowment. That's insanity. $53 billion. And it looks like every year they get about $2 billion from us. That's just insane. So I can't but think, yeah, they should not be getting any of that $2 billion. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.